everyone. Welcome back to the District 3 podcast. My name is Irvin. This is episode 337. We're recording live here from downtown Springdale. This weekend was a fun weekend. I got to volunteer with some of the folks at Ozark Workers Association in Springdale. In case you don't know them, they do a free store here and there every year, multiple times during a year. And what they do is they go to a public park, this time being Murphy Park, and they will provide food, and they will provide also clothes and other things like toys for kids, all free of charge. These are all donations that people have given to them, and they're giving to the community. So look out for that on social media the next time that it comes about. And in case you are someone that needs clothes, that needs food, that needs toys, or if you know someone that does. So I just kind of wanted to give them a shout out because they're doing amazing work with that kind of community project that brings a lot of direct help to our community. So shout out to OWA. Today, we're actually joined by I would say a new friend of mine because I've met with you only once, Ray.
Yeah,
this is the second time that we're meeting and having a conversation, and it's live on the podcast. With me, I have the candidate for State Representative District 11, in Arkansas, Rey Hernandez. Ray, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for inviting me. I appreciate you giving me the time.
Yeah, like I said, I've met with you before, had a meeting with you once a while back. It was at a coffee shop, I believe.
Yeah.
Might have been Red Kite
Red Kite.
over there in Springdale. And you're just a very passionate individual that wants to do good, at the State House. And you're running for this district, what area of Arkansas is this district? I know you brought a map.
Yeah, I brought a map, but
for me.
You can't see it. Yeah. This district was actually gerrymandered out of what used to be Megan Godfrey's district, which was all of downtown Springdale.
District 89.
And for some reason, the GOP didn't like her, so they cut this part of her district up. And my friend Diana Gonzalez-Worthman is now representing District 9, which was the other half of this district. And I'm running for District 11 to displace the GOP person who got elected the last two times around. Basically, what separates us is the railroad track. So Diana has District 9, which starts at the railroad tracks and goes east out to the lake.
Oh, so we're in your district right now.
And my district is where we are now.
Yeah.
And it goes from the railroad tracks in downtown Springdale all the way out to Gutenson and all the way down to Robinson. Oh, not Robinson, Sunset. So from Sunset North and from Gutenson to the railroad tracks is what's included in this district in Springdale. But what's really weird about this district is it also goes north into Benton County. And when it gets up into Benton County, it makes a turn there on Apple Blossom Road. And on the west side, on the east side, it goes up to the Benton County line and then makes a turn out towards the lake. So in Benton County, I've got all of the lake all the way up to, but not including, Rogers city limits. So it goes up through Lowell on the east side of Lowell, all the way up to where my house is. For some reason, they wanted me to run for this office, I guess, because they only included my house because I'm just outside the city limits in Rogers, and then all the way out to the lake. So it's a real weird-looking district, but it was done that way intentionally, I think, to minimize the Latino vote and maximize the non-Latino vote, or the GOP vote, and that's been very effective. Whenever I've run in Benton County before, I've always gotten beat like 60-40 because that's how Benton County is kind of divided up. But even though this got this beautiful part of Springdale, my number stayed the same the last two elections. I was still there in that 60-40 division. But it's a wonderful district. I like that it has Springdale High School in it. I was thinking that it had one of the schools in Rogers, but it's got Springdale High School in it. It's got the hospital. It's got the library. It's got the police department.
It does, yeah.
and the Chamber of Commerce office and everything.
Taco Loco.
So all the things that you kind of associate with Springdale, I mean, they're in this district, so it's really neat.
And I think sometimes that kind of the fact that it has the Odd Soul, Taco Loco, the Springdale Police Department, more people should know about this race, right? Because this is a very centralized location that a lot of people visit. Has it been hard to like educate people on?
I don't think it's been hard to educate people. It's really been hard to motivate people to go out and vote. You know, because it only happens that 1 week in the beginning of November. And if you're busy getting ready for the holidays or something like that, some people just, they just space it out and forget, hey, there's elections going on right now that impact me. And I'll be truthful with you. The first time I ran, I thought, this is going to be easy. I'll get all my Latino votes in Springdale and I'll blow them away. But no,
it's hard.
I don't want to call it apathy, but the lack of awareness that there was an election going on that impacted everybody just got by everyone. And the second time around, I tried to do a better job of, hey, this is really important what's going on here. We really need to have our own representation, not only for Latinos, but for Springdale, because the people that are representing this district now, they don't care anything about Springdale. They don't care anything about Rogers. Out of district areas, out of the city limits, and they're all, doing whatever the party wants them to do. And the person that I want to replace, she is not very accessible. Can't communicate with her. She came from Texas like a dozen years ago, but I doubt she speaks Spanish. I don't know. I don't have a chance to talk to her. So I haven't had that opportunity. And my concern is, for 10 plus years, the GOP has been in charge of the governor's office, the state house, and also the Senate. And still, we're at the bottom in every category: health, education, and so on. So it's been a challenge, and for me, it's just no es justo. It's unjust that we have to think about who's running our daily lives without them actually knowing who we are or caring about what matters to us.
That makes sense. And I think one of the things also that I wanted to highlight is that you have a long history here in this area. Like there's a lot of things that you've done, that you've been a part of, that you've created, that maybe because it wasn't in the social media age has kind of been like lost in history, right?
Well, and
I hear every time
I've not been very good about tooting my own horn, as they say.
But it's still, it's still really impressive, the fact that I hear it from different people that have also been in the area for a while, from Diana Gonzalez-Worthen, from Eddie, from all these different people, of the involvement that you've had. So it's just a reminder for people that you're not new here. You're someone that has like deep roots in this area.
I've been here 36 years.
Maybe 37. Where did you actually move here from?
Well, I actually moved here from Springfield, Missouri. My wife's from Arkansas. That's why we're here. And her brother lives in Rogers, or lived in Rogers back then. So we came and stayed with him, thinking we'd get a job somewhere in Northwest Arkansas because we really love this part of the country. And I spent a year working over in Tulsa, and I spent another year working over in Springfield, Missouri. But this is where I wanted to be. So I got an offer from a printing company to go to work for them in downtown Rogers, and I jumped right on it. Plus, they were paying me double what I was making in Springfield. So
that helped too, right?
It was a perfect opportunity for me. So I've been here since '89.
Okay. And when did you join the Marines?
1967, and I retired from the Marine Corps in 1987. So that
20 years.
That gap between '87 and '89 was Tulsa and Springfield. Yeah, so 20 years.
Okay. And then when you moved here in '89, you said?
'89, yeah.
How was the community looking like in regards to like diversity at that time?
Well, there was still, and mind you, I've been in Arkansas since 1969 because this is where I got married back then, and visited here every year while I was in the military. So I remember Springdale and some of the areas around here still had dirt roads. The road that ran from the rodeo up towards Rogers, most of that was a dirt road.
Yeah, I've seen pictures.
And so when we finally settled here, we bought a house on a dirt road, but 10 years later, they finally paved it. And so I've seen all of the growth. I've seen everything that happened. The year that I got here was the year that they finished the Holiday Inn. And before that, the only tall building in town was the hospital. You know, so yeah, I've watched it grow, and I've watched it get busier, bigger. They had just dug a big trench, the red trench that went from north to south, which was going to become Highway 49. It was 49 back then. I forget what number. It was like 68 or something like that. So, you know, the city and the county and this part of the state has just grown unbelievable. The numbers of people that were coming here to work for Tyson, Walmart, and you know, J.B. Hunt. You know, those were the big employers back here at the university. So it's been interesting to see. But I think what really surprised me the most when I first got here is how many Latino families had already settled here. You know, I figured, well, I'm going to be the first one. And in the phone book, I was the first Hernandez, back when they had phone books. I'll explain to you what that is later.
I'll post a link so the Gen Z can know what it is in case they don't know.
So I was the first Hernandez in that phone book. But the neat thing about that is it placed me here at a very unique time to be the person who could inform the cities and the police departments and the you know, even the Tyson's plants about what our culture was like and what mattered to us and why we do the things that we do. So I became very involved in everything that was going on back then, and an unofficial arbitrator. I was a member of the Chambers of Commerce and was trying to help the Chambers of Commerce figure out, you know, how to reach, you know, people that wanted to start businesses here, Latinos that wanted to start business here, and try to help businesses that were here try to figure out how they were going to get to make Latinos their customers. It was just a very interesting time, and I'm you know, so glad I got to see all of that.
And a lot of that was unpaid work, right? It was just you.
You know,
that's how it still is today.
It got to the point where I was volunteering so much and on the boards of so many nonprofits that my boss came to me and says, could maybe you cut back on some of your other work and work on this job, and even though I doubled the revenues of that printing company.
How did that feel for you, though, the fact that you were kind of like a go-to for a lot of things?
You know, I loved it at first because it was nice to be wanted and needed, and you know, I was old enough and had experienced a culture change in my hometown of El Paso when I was a teenager, you know, so I knew what was going to happen and kind of was able to foretell what kinds of things were coming. So that was unique. But I was really glad when more and more people came and became professionals at Tyson and Walmart and other places and started taking on that burden on themselves. I remember when Papa Rap arrived here, he was very interested in promoting his music. So he came to the radio station, La Zeta, and he said, "Can you play my tapes?" And I said, well, what is it? He says, well, it's Puerto Rican rap. And I said, well, you know, we're a Mexican norteña station. Yeah. He goes, yeah, but people might like this. And I said, well, we'll play it in the overnights. And of course, he became well known after that. And the schools actually saw the value in having somebody like that to help blend the two cultures together, you know, that cowboy culture and the Latino culture. You know, so it created an opportunity. Plus, it took a burden off of me. You know, hey, now I got somebody in the schools that can, you know,
he was also all over the place, right? He was also like, he became someone that's a very go-to person as well.
Still today.
What was your involvement with La Zeta? Because I know La Zeta, for those that don't know, that might be listening to this podcast that are not Latino, it's the biggest radio station technically in the state.
It was the first 24-hour Spanish radio station in the state. You know, and there were other little efforts that were taking place before that. But what was called the Power Radio Group back then had several stations, and what they did is they found a little country and western station on the AM that was, you know, going broke, and they leased that station and talked to people from California who owned La Zeta to give us that signal out here, and their pushback was, hey, there's no Mexicans out there. What would you need it for? And then we had to send them some statistics that backed up the idea that we need the radio station here. The only problem with it was that it was on the AM. So the AM you can run at full power in the daytime, but because there's some other stations that are bigger and have, you know, leases with the government that allowed them to turn their power up at night. We had to turn our power down at night. So all we got was like a little signal in downtown Springdale and Fayetteville.
Oh, wow.
But, during the day, we had a pretty good signal.
Wow. And, now
And I came in basically to help promote the station and to help with sales.
okay. And was that also one of those things where it was like you were a go-to, so people were just getting you for all these different ventures to be like, hey, help out with this?
I remember there was a newspaper article that came out talking about this radio station and how it was going to be a bridge between two cultures. And some of my friends that knew me said, hey, there's Puente right there. They started calling me Puente for a little bit because it said a bridge between two cultures, and they had my picture on it.
Oh, wow.
And I'm from El Paso, Texas, so I knew some Spanish, but I was kind of pochito. My Spanish was not good enough to do commercials. It even hurt my feelings one time. Somebody said, hey, I don't know who that gringo is on there making commercials, but you need to find somebody else. So,
oh, wow.
So I went looking for somebody, and my friend Virginia Vega kind of pointed me to her brother, and Eddie came into the radio business, and he stayed, and I moved on.
Yeah, we've had him on the podcast before. So he was doing like ads and stuff too, as well. Like he was,
yeah. Well,
or was he like a locutor kind of?
Well, they had locutores, so basically what we were doing was cutting the ads, the local ads, and the announcements, of the radio station in between. So he was producing all of the Spanish language advertisements. And in the evening, the two of us would sit there and we would work the boards and we'd cut the commercials. And in the daytime, we would be out selling ads.
Okay. So how does that feel, like just you seeing how everything is now? Like there's just so many Latinos that are implemented into the area in all different professional ways. And, when you started, you can count the go-tos in one hand, right? The people, now there's a lot of people that people go to for different type of
and I
advising.
think it's great. I never, in that realm, I never felt competitive. I didn't feel like I had to be the one, So for me, it was good to have new people coming in and taking on those roles, and I felt like my job was, I'm the pathfinder. I'll find you the path. You guys can do with it whatever you want to after we get the path put in. So I was glad that we had a form of communication for our Latino population. There was a startup of a newspaper. Eddie actually started up a newspaper, and I was listed as his first sales manager on there. Pretty soon, another newspaper started up, and pretty soon we started talking to people about bringing Univision in here. And all of that was all designed to make sure that we had a way to get our information that we needed. The parents who were sending their kids off to school, the only information they had was whatever the kid brought back. But now with a newspaper and a radio station and all of that, they would have an opportunity to hear firsthand what's going on and know what's happening and become involved.
Okay. And I don't know if my memory is throwing me off a little bit, but were you also involved with the Workers' Justice Center?
I was executive director for the Workers' Justice Center for
I wasn't going crazy then. I remember that. Tell me about how you started doing that.
Well, they decided they needed an executive director, after Jose had started it up, and so the board that ran that center interviewed some people. I came in, and I was one of the people they interviewed, and they ended up hiring me just because of all my experience and everything else, and my age. I guess I was older and hopefully a little bit wiser. And I was kind of shocked what I was hearing, because people were coming in and complaining about, getting their wages stolen from their employer.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, some of those employers were Latinos, but abusing Latinos. People in the poultry industry were being abused in the worst ways. I mean, they wouldn't let them take restroom breaks off the line. I heard of people like wearing diapers, because they couldn't leave the line just to go on a bathroom break and stuff like that. So we started, doing the work that we needed to do to train our people how to advocate for themselves, how to file a claim for lost wages or stolen wages, talk to the consulate to make sure that they had those protections that came from the consulate for those that were Mexican citizens, and then just give them an opportunity to be able to do the things that they needed to get the attention that they needed, and working with the different companies and going to them and saying, hey, we've heard this report about that. What are you going to do about it? And so on. Just advocating for them in that way.
That's a tough work, huh? Like
it's really hard work because the stories that you hear, you wonder, are they embellishing this, or is this what really happened to these individuals? And you could tell that some of them, this is what took place, because they would get injured on the job and they couldn't even get workman's comp because they'd signed a piece of paper that said, I will be safe on the job. So, the employer would say, well, you weren't safe on the job, so I guess you're not covered.
My goodness. Yeah, the Workers' Justice Center was one of the first organizations that I would show up to events constantly to support the work that they were doing. That was back when Jose Aguayo and Ana Aguayo were there. Yeah. And just the work that the people that were working there, was so exceptional.
Well, the two of them, they were real proponents for DACA as well, making sure people had that opportunity and were able to take advantage of it. So.
Yeah. What was one of the things that you took out of that, that position that you had there with the Workers' Justice Center?
Well, abuses are going to happen, number one. And number two, that we as a raza tend to be kind of shy about speaking up for ourselves. And, so we need somebody that's going to champion our cause for us. And, I didn't mind at all being that champion. And we managed to hire some pretty good people back in those days to help train people and to help, advocate with them and even help them, file the claims that they had to with the courts.
What are some of the things that you're most proud of, community-wise, that you've been a part of?
I started out with LULAC, what's it been, over 20 years now. And the thing that we decided about LULAC back then was that we can give our people the best economic help by helping them get a good education, whether that be in a trade school or college or university. So we started working on a scholarship program, and everything that we raised money for went to scholarships or, making sure that somebody had an economic opportunity. It wasn't a lot of money in every instances, but it would make the difference between somebody deciding not to go to school or starting at a community college or, using their other scholarships that they were getting to be able to get into the university. And a lot of success stories came out of that. People that were able to come from a very poor environment to where they were becoming professionals.
Back then, when you were just looking at the community and maybe not seeing as much Latino involvement in all these different fields, looking at things now, is there still some things that you look at and you're like, man, I wish Latinos, maybe we would be more involved in this, or we would be doing a little bit more of this?
Well, the biggest gap for me has always been representation. I ran for a school board like 15 or 20 years ago, and when the population in the Rogers School District was, already 35% Latino, and I thought, we should be on that board. So me and a couple of other Latinos ran for school board. Oh, well, actually, the first thing that happened is that they lost a school board member and they had to appoint somebody. And three of us who were Latinos, 2 men and a woman, applied, and of course they gave it to the old white guy. But that was an appointment. So when it came time to run, I went ahead and ran. I said, this is important enough for me that I should try to get in there. And of course I didn't get elected. I think partly just because of my name. You see my name on a ballot back in those days, and you're either with me or you're not with me, if you know what I mean.
Which is crazy, just because of your history that you have with the military. You would think that a lot of folks see that Marine and be like, oh, this person is dedicated to this country.
I'll tell you the truth. When I was running for, what was that position? Anyhow, I was running for a countywide position in Benton County. And that was the same year that Hillary was running for office. And in Benton
it's the year
County,
that I ran. Isn't that 2016?
Yeah,
that's the year that I ran.
So in Benton County, I actually got more votes than Hillary Clinton did because I was advertising myself as a veteran who wanted, to be in office, and by then enough people knew me that I actually picked up some crossover votes, even the ex-son-in-law, who was very rednecky and wouldn't vote for any Democrat, voted for me. I said, well, thank you, Dave.
I mean, when you think of someone that is a veteran, you have sacrificed so much. You've risked your own life for this country. Like, what other type of level of commitment do you need to see from someone that they care about their community, they care about their country, right?
Yeah, but
so it's like,
just because you served in the military doesn't necessarily make you a good leader. But
true,
but it is a good start.
I'm just saying that I know that you're a good leader, and you have the commitment,
Yeah.
and you've been in this community for such a long time. You would think all those things, like people would, switch would flip, or a flip would switch. I don't know, but and the people would be like, oh, this is the guy that I can trust for this position. I'm hoping that people, listen to this episode, and people will be in your district that will listen to this episode, and that show up to vote in November. I think early vote, actually.
I think that's my biggest challenge right now. But I think the government that is in place now, that is running everything, I think they've showed their hand a little bit. They've showed how big of bigots they are. They showed that they're grifters, and they're in it to enrich themselves. They've showed that they don't care enough about education and healthcare and all the other things to try to move us from the bottom and move us up a little bit, And what's sad is, back when Clinton was governor, we were like number 6 in the country, and now we're 48 in education.
And like last or close to last in voter participation and super high in incarceration.
And we incarcerate more people than any other state, just about, and
some countries too.
We're our country is the biggest incarcerator than any of the third world countries are, and so it's a sad situation, and unfortunately, it's not so much politics that causes that to happen. I think it's just greed. I think the people that have the most money, the top 1%ers, are buying politicians. And the politicians may go into office being good people, and then all of a sudden all this money starts rolling their way. Oh, well, I'll do whatever you say, mister. Just keep the money rolling.
Yeah. What are some things that you will be doing, like during your campaign? Will you be going out knocking on doors? Will you be out in community events? Where can people connect with you?
I'll be knocking on doors. I'll be making phone calls. They'll get a postcard or two from me. My opponent that ran against me, she only attended one event that I know of because I was there at the same time, and she did send out 3 mailings, really nice, high glossy mailings. But every point that she had in there was just a Republican talking point. It just talked about we're going to control immigration, we're going to reduce crime, blah blah blah. All the stuff that they try to scare their voters into voting because
that fear mongering.
They've turned their neighbors into enemies. It's what they've done. Oops, sorry.
What are some things that your campaign is focusing on in regards to like issues?
Well, I think I was really disappointed when the LEARNS Act went through, because I've worked in education, and I can see that's really just funneling money from the public education system out to the private education system, and without any accountability, or not as the same accountability for the private educators as they have for the public educators. So that's one of the things that bothers me, and I'll do everything I can to get that thing squashed. The only good thing that was in there, and it was really just a carrot to help people vote for it, was pay raises for the teachers, which they should have done long time ago. Teachers are terribly underpaid. And the fact that we were giving scholarships for our kids to be able to go to college, I think I would push for, free or reduced college education for everybody. But, that ends up giving more opportunity to the underserved populations that we really care about. Medical and insurance is a horrible situation in this state. Not as bad as it is in other, red states, but it's still pretty bad, and it disproportionately affects the very poor and minorities. So I think we need to get a handle on that, get it back under control. There's sadly there's so many things that have been overlooked by the current government that it's gonna be a chore just to get it back on board. Mm-hmm. When you've got a government that wants to spend more money building prisons than they do funding schools, that tells you where their priority is, and that tells you what they think of their population that they're supposed to be serving.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Can people see like these issues that you're talking about? Can they go to your website?
Yeah, it's on my website. I'm a pretty open person. I'm probably one of the few politicians that actually puts his cell phone number on his stuff. I don't mind taking calls. I do screen calls, but I don't mind taking calls from people to talk about issues. And that's what I like about door knocking and being in a room with people that will ask you genuine and frank questions, because I would rather have that happening than me thinking that I'm smarter than they are, mm-hmm. that I know better than they are, which is kind of the Republican playbook. Yeah, we're richer, smarter. We're going to decide what the population needs instead of actually finding out what's going on.
So you're a good listener. You like to listen to people.
I do like listening to people, but I like talking too, so which helps in politics.
Yeah, which you can have a good conversation with people, just because, like you said, going back to your opponent about that lack of not being accessible enough, right, for people. You're someone saying like, hey, I'm putting my number on my stuff. Call me if you want to. Let's have a coffee. Let's talk. Like, I'll show you who I am as a candidate and why I should be the best choice for this position.
Yeah, well, it bothers me when you've got politicians who don't come to their district or don't communicate with the voters. That in itself bothers me, but it also bothers me that they feel like they're entitled to spend our money, our taxes, however they want to. It kind of bothers me that they use the term conservative to identify themselves, because conservative means that you're doing the right thing with the money and not wasting it. Mm-hmm. And if you look at some of the way that they spend money, they're not very conservative. I don't know how they can, with a straight face, call themselves the conservative party.
Mm-hmm. I understand, especially looking at these gas prices right now.
Oh.
The other day, it usually takes about $28 to fill my gas tank. Mm-hmm. The other day, I put $40 in my Honda Civic.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, are we great yet? Are we great? Because my pockets aren't feeling great after putting $40 into my Honda Civic.
I remember when Biden got elected, people were putting stickers on the gas pump saying,
I saw that.
Biden did this. And now I see some people are going around putting stickers on gas pumps and other things that says Trump did this.
Yeah.
and that's such a fast indicator of how well we're doing is gas prices, you would guess. And because that affects you immediately.
The unleaded right now.
Your ability to get to work, the cost of the things that you buy.
The unleaded at the gas stations next to my house is $4.19 right now.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, I'm one of those people. I was telling a friend this, that when I put gas, usually I don't check because I have to get gas anyways. Yeah. There's no point of checking what the gas price is, right? So the fact that I'm even having to acknowledge how much gas is, because it's made a big difference in how much money you're putting in, is a teller of like, obviously they're not doing a good job up in Washington.
A lot of people don't know this, but whenever you pump your gas, all gas pumps automatically turn off at $100. And they make you either restart it if you want to go more.
I didn't know that.
I've never even knew about that until this last month or two. Why is this pump going off at $100? I'm not done yet.
Oh, wow.
And that's my big truck, which normally takes $70 or $80 to fill up. Now, it cuts me off at $100, and I'm only at 3/4 of a tank. Oh, man. Mm-hmm. And I asked him, I said, what's going on with these pumps? He says, well, all gas pumps are set to go off at $100.
My goodness. Have at least egg prices gone down? I don't know. Like, man, it just seems, and I'm not the kind of person that's just negative, but how have things gone better? That's kind of what a lot of common sense people want to know.
Well, I think that's an indicator that the governing class is out of touch with the way the rest of us live. Because they know when to buy the stocks because they work in the industry that regulates that, or they know when the bad things are going to happen. So they buy a lot of stocks right before a crash, and they make a lot of money. And that's why I'm thinking the big problem is not politics, it's greed. And the people that are the most greedy right now, it seems to me, are the ones that are in the GOP and, driving everybody else's prices higher because they're making a profit off of it.
Yeah.
One way or another.
Yeah. And, there's folks kind of like what we talked about at the beginning of the episode that might not feel super encouraged to go out to vote in November. What's your call to action to those folks, specifically the ones that are in your district, that might not be like, I should go out to vote? How will their vote for you make a difference?
Make a difference?
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I think, we've got a governor who used to be a spokesperson for the current president. And she thinks like him a lot. And you can tell that. She takes her National Guard and sends them out to police our people in her state. That means supporting ICE and supporting the work that they do, whether it's legal or illegal, constitutional or unconstitutional. She supports that kind of initiative. She supports building, prisons to house more people. And of course, who are the people that poor enough that they have to steal a loaf of bread to survive? That's the people that she's going after. So our hardworking people are being targeted, whether they know it or not. So the fact that we've got a government that wants to restrict voting because it helps them get elected, that ought to be a telltale sign right there. So I think we need to wake up and realize that there is enough of us that don't vote that if we just voted, we could change the tide. If we just voted, we could choose who represents us, and we could, find our own people that are neighbors, and not people who, live off in some mansion somewhere and have no clue how we live, and keep getting those people elected. I think it's a matter of, trusting who's going to represent you.
Yeah.
Who was it that I heard say it? It's right there in the title, representative, and they're not representing us. They're, they might as well just call them seat fillers or whatever.
Yeah, and I think, it's insane that we allow that to happen. The fact that we are more motivated to show up in big numbers because we're a non-voting state. We're not even a red state. It's just folks don't vote, There's a lot of people that could vote and they just don't do it.
They just don't vote.
So I think, if the last...
More than half of our population in this state doesn't vote.
If the last few years haven't taught you enough that you can make a difference by voting, I never really say that voting is the only solution, right? I think organizing plus voting creates good results, but it's do both.
It's the easiest thing to do. Is, if you want to hold a picket sign and go stand in front of somebody's office, that's hard work. The easiest thing to do is drive down, flick a lever, and you vote it. The one thing I liked about being a Marine is every 4 years I could vote for a new boss. Literally, Commander-in-Chief? Okay, we'll just get rid of him and get another one. You don't have that opportunity always. And I think two things happen. We're so busy living and surviving that we don't look around to see what's happening, first of all, and find the solution, which is voting. And then the other thing is, we've always trusted our government to do what's right. And I think that trust is gone now. We can't trust our government to always do what's right. We have to send our own people to go in there and check on them. And I think we are insane to think we can hire somebody who makes more money than us, has a higher education than us, and has more power than us, and they're going to care about us when they get to office.
Yeah, and sometimes they don't even have the higher education than us. Yeah. They're just doing horrible things.
They're just doing horrible things. I used to think that to get into office you really had to be a smart feller, but
yeah, nowadays the bar is low.
That bar is really low now.
So one of the things that I like to talk to about, especially to Latino candidates, because when someone's Latino, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're for their people, right?
That's right.
Obviously, you have a history already of doing all this work.
I mean, some Latinos will
Do we have
cheat their own people for profits.
We have some in Little Rock that are Republican that vote against Latinos.
Well, and some they don't claim to be Latinos. They just because they got a name.
Yeah, and I think I know who you're talking about, Ray. But for the folks that are listening, that might be like, oh, this is the first time I hear about Ray. He's Latino, great. He speaks Spanish, great.
Yeah.
But is he going to be someone that would vote against anti-immigrant bills that if someone was to try to pass an anti-immigrant bill, is Ray going to vote against it? Yeah. I want to know what your answer is.
Well, if that's what the people want, yes, that's what. I grew up in El Paso, and El Paso, when I was a youngster, was just starting to feel the growing pains. And one of the family friends that we had was a guy named Paul Moreno. Paul Moreno was a disabled American veteran who was a lawyer, and he said, enough is enough. We need some representation. Mm-hmm. And he ran for office, and when I was 15 or 16 years old, I was painting signs, Moreno for Texas legislature. And he got elected, and he was the longest serving Latino representative, well, not only Latino, longest serving representative ever, when he finally left office. And I take my inspiration from him. Here was a guy who was a lawyer. He was making good money. He didn't have to do anything except just do his law business. But he cared enough to go into office, put up with all that crap that you have to put up with in the legislature, and make sure that people were getting represented. I want to be like him. Mm-hmm. And I've always thought that I could be, but I never had any opportunity for that. Serving in the military and even when I first came here, I didn't have any aspirations to become a politician or to run for office. I was busy, helping create the multicultural center and Spanish radio stations and getting scholarships for our Latino students. But it became more and more apparent to me that if we don't have a seat at the table where they make decisions about the laws and about how people are treated, it's our own fault. Mm-hmm. If we get treated badly, mm-hmm. because we didn't bother to take the time to, hey, let's find somebody and put them up for office. Mm-hmm. This is my third time running for this position. And some people ask me, Ray, why are you running? You're kind of old. You shouldn't be doing that. And I said, yeah, I would like to have somebody who's better looking, younger, and smarter than me running, but nobody has stepped up to it. If I could ask two things of our Latino population, number one, vote, and number two, care enough about your community to take a chance on becoming, city councilman, sit on the school board, run for office.
And so you would not support any anti-immigrant.
No.
Going back to the question,
no, I would not support any anti-immigrant.
I just want to make sure it's clear, because
it's clear.
if people hear you, they're going to be like, I don't know, I don't know if he answered
it.
I want to make sure you answer, because I know your history of your work and all of that. So your work has always been very pro-immigrant. Mm-hmm. But I just want to make sure that everybody listening.
My mom had her own sewing business, and after she and my dad split, she bought her own house. She took 5 of us boys and raised us up in that house. And in that house, she started a sewing business, and she was making costumes for the local drama and ballet group. She was doing all of the cheerleader uniforms for most of the high schools in El Paso. She worked for a bridal service and did most of their gowns for them. She had a really, really, really good business. And she would hire people that had come across the border and were looking for a job, and she would hire them. And if they didn't know how to sew, she would teach them. And while they were learning, she'd say, well, just keep yourself busy, sweep the floors, cook a meal or whatever. And under her house, she cleaned out the basement and turned it into apartments. You need a place to stay? You can stay here till we can get you a good job and a good apartment. So she was already moving people from immigrant status to thriving, person in the United States. And you know, I have to honor that tradition. I have to make sure that we can do that. Even in our scholarship programs that we have at LULAC, one of the questions on there was, are you a citizen? So to get the matching funds from our LULAC national organization back in the day, if they weren't a citizen, they couldn't apply for the matching funds. But we as an organization here, we could give funds to DACA students. We could give funds to students who didn't have their naturalization finished or anything else like that. And we did. We were offering those scholarships to even non-citizens because we wanted to make sure that everybody had an opportunity to become the person that they could become and to thrive.
One of the questions that we ask all of our guests is, what do you do to take care of your mental health? Nothing?
Well, what most people don't know about me, well, I've started putting it in my advertising, is that I raise cattle. So I raise cows, and cows will make you very humble, but they also give you a sense of peace and serenity. You know, I go home at the end of the day, my cows are walking in the pasture, they're eating, they're having babies. It's nature at its closest. I've got a garden that I put in every year. You know, big garden. I don't know why. It's just my wife and me, but I've got lots of kids and church people that I take vegetables to. And I just came back from a vacation to Colorado because my oldest brother turned 90 years old, and I wanted to go see him. I hadn't seen him in 7 years. You know, so my biggest joy, personal joy, is my great-grandkids, watching them grow up, watching them make it through school. But I also feel the burden of trying to make sure that they've got as good or better a life than I had when I was a kid.
So you enjoy just being out on your ranch and having a good time.
And a lot of people don't know this about me. I'm an artist, you know, so I paint when I get the chance. But I'm kind of a guilty painter because I'm so busy working and supporting my family that, you know, I don't even have a studio. Sometimes I'll get inspired and I'll do something. And I did a painting for our church. It took me about 6 months to complete, but it gave me an opportunity to feel like an artist again. You know, and my first degree, my associate's degree, was in art. I was an illustrator in the Marine Corps. You know, so I had that training already, but I didn't have the education behind it.
Got it. And where can people find you on social media if they want to follow your campaign and support you?
How's that sound going? I've been everywhere.
I mean, I see you're on TikTok too, so that's a plus.
I'm on TikTok. I'm on Instagram. I'm on X. I'm on Facebook. Probably my biggest presence.
You said you're on Instagram?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll tag you on Instagram on this video.
I don't do much on X, but you know, every now and then I get mad about something, and I'll go in there and I figure I can vent there, and the president will see it. But
now I see that you'll be using TikTok sometimes too.
Oh yeah, I try to use TikTok. You know, it's funny because the second time I ran, there was a consultant that was helping me with my media, and she says, "Oh, and you've got to get TikTok." And I go, "What?" I said, "I don't want to dance in front of a camera because that's all my great-grandkids did is they dance in front of the camera."
Everybody always thinks that you have to dance. I don't know. Every time I'll talk to like someone that's older than a millennial, and I'll tell you have to get on TikTok. They'll be like, "I don't want to dance and sing." I'm like, "You don't have to dance and sing. There's news on there. You can literally just talk about issues and stuff."
I learned how to use TikTok and you know, my great-grandkids taught me about FYP and making sure that, you know, I could get my message out to more people.
Well, Ray, I appreciate you taking the time to be here. Hopefully the people that are listening to this episode go check you out on social media. If they see you out in the community, they come talk to you, ask you some questions, because you seem to be like a very open book that, you know, you're willing to sit down and talk to people. But I appreciate just you making the time. Good luck in November. If I was in your district, I'd vote for you. Unfortunately, only the office is in your district. I live in Diana's district. I live like 5 minutes from Diana Gonzalez-Worthen, so she's my state representative.
Well, you know, I think you know, before we wrap it up, there's one thing I need to say.
Go ahead.
When I joined the Marine Corps, I was 17 years old. I graduated at 17 years of age from high school, and people were being drafted to go to the Vietnam War. And I didn't want to be drafted because at 18, I had to sign the papers, and they tell you what branch of service you're going to go into. And coming from an Army town, I was pretty sure I didn't want to be in the Army. And my brother was a Marine. And I said, well, if I'm going to go anywhere, I want to be in the Marines and at least have the best training if I end up in combat. And I see a lot of the same things happening right now that was happening back then. We're in a war that nobody wanted. People are being required now to register for the draft, which has always been since the Vietnam War. But now it's happening automatically starting in December. They're going to automatically draft or put people in the selective service system. So the next obvious step is start taking all the people that need to go fight in this war if it escalates, and it may not. But that means that some part of our population might have to vanish to go to a war. And when I say vanish, I mean they may not come back. A lot of the people that I went through high school with never came back from Vietnam. I don't want that to happen to any of our population again. You go look at the wall, the Vietnam Wall in Washington, D.C., 30 or 40% of those names are Latino names. And I know some of those people. And I'm lucky that I wasn't one of them. And I don't want any of our kids to be the next generation to go to a war. So if you care about your son, your own life, or any of that, you need to vote. You need to make sure that we can change this administration first at the state level and then at the federal level before any of that happens.
Thank you for that message.
Welcome.
It's a good warning for people, people to make sure that they show up, that they vote, that they organize in their communities. But once again, thank you, Ray. I appreciate you being here, and we'll make sure to tag you everything on social media so people can follow you. Follow Ray on social media. Follow him on Instagram, on TikTok. Go to his Facebook. He has a like page too for his campaign. I think it's like Rey Hernandez for Arkansas, or Rey Hernandez for state representative.
Rey Hernandez for Arkansas State Representative, District 11. It's a big long title, but if they look up Rey Hernandez, R-E-Y, because I'm a Reynaldo, you'll find me pretty easily.
Okie dokie. Well, go follow Ray. Go support his campaign this November. For everybody listening, that was the end of this episode with Rey Hernandez. We'll catch you all next week.